You ever find yourself adjusting a picture frame, not because it's crooked, but because it just doesn't feel right? Or maybe you've tapped your fingers in a certain pattern until it felt, complete. Today, we're diving deep into that powerful and, let's be honest, often frustrating, just right feeling. This is something that goes way beyond simple perfectionism. It's right at the very heart of what we call symmetry and exactness compulsions. This quote from Chrissy Hodge's memoir, wow, it just nails the feeling after a compulsive episode, doesn't it? There's this huge sense of relief. Yeah, but it's mixed with this feeling of confusion, maybe even a little bit of isolation. It's like you've been trapped by a logic that makes perfect sense inside your own head, but is impossible to explain. And that's such a powerful place for us to start this journey. All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to define what that just right feeling really is. Then we'll map out the OCD cycle that keeps it going. We'll dig into why it's so easy to get stuck in that loop. And then, the good part, we'll explore some really solid evidence-based ways to break free. And finally, we'll talk about what it actually looks like to live a life beyond these compulsions. So, first things first, what is this feeling really? So many people mistake it for just being a perfectionist, but believe me, it is so much more visceral, so much more demanding than that. See, at its core, this isn't about wanting something to look nice. It's like this internal alarm bell is just screaming that something is terribly, fundamentally wrong. It's a feeling of incompleteness or even dread. Think of it like a mental itch that you feel absolutely compelled to scratch, not for pleasure, but just to make the intense discomfort stop. And that's where we get to the clinical side of things. That urge to align something, to arrange it, to repeat it until it feels just right. That's not some weird personality quirk. It's a compulsion. The official definition describes it as a behavior or a mental act you feel driven, almost forced to perform, all to get rid of that intense distress. The just right feeling is the bullseye, and the compulsion is the arrow the brain fires to try and hit it. Okay. So how does this one feeling turn into a loop that just goes on and on? Well, it's not random. There's actually a really predictable four-step cycle that basically acts as the engine for obsessive-compulsive disorder. So it all kicks off right here, with an obsession. This is an intrusive thought or an image that just pops into your head completely unwanted. You're not trying to think it, it's just there. And for what we're talking about, it's that nagging little doubt, wait, is that really symmetrical? What if the feeling isn't perfect? And bam, as soon as that thought hits, the brain's alarm system goes off. And we're not talking about mild concern here. This is a tidal wave of anxiety, a feeling of dread, that intense sense of not rightness we just talked about. Your brain is screaming danger, even when, logically, you know everything is fine. So to shut off that blaring, deafening alarm, your brain demands action right now. This is the compulsion. This is when you nudge the book, retie the shoe, recount the steps. The goal is laser focused. Do whatever it takes to get that elusive just right feeling, because that's what makes the anxiety go away. And you know what? For a brief moment, it works. The compulsion is done, the feeling is achieved, the anxiety drops. And you feel relief. But, and this is so important, this is the trap. That temporary relief is an incredibly powerful reinforcement. It teaches your brain, see, that little ritual, it saved us. We absolutely have to do it again next time. And that's what makes the cycle so vicious and so hard to break. So, why is this cycle so ridiculously hard to break? What is going on in the brain that keeps us running on this hamster wheel over and over again? This right here, this is the aha moment. It perfectly captures the central paradox of OCD. The very things you're doing to feel safe, to get rid of the anxiety, the compulsions, the rituals, the constant adjustments, they are the very fuel that keeps the OCD engine running. The thing that feels like the solution has become the problem. Think of it like this. Researchers like Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz called this state brain lock, a specific circuit in your brain, one that connects the part that makes decisions with the part that forms habits. It basically gets stuck in the on position. It just keeps sending these false error messages. It's not right, it's not complete, danger, and those signals feel just as real and just as urgent as a fire alarm. Okay, I know that might sound a little bleak, but this is where the story completely turns around. Because if the brain can get locked, guess what? It can also be unlocked. The whole tone here is about hope and empowerment. The key to all of this is an amazing property of our brains called neuroplasticity. We used to think the adult brain was pretty much set in stone. We now know that's not true at all. It's constantly rewiring itself based on what we do and how we think. And that means we literally have the power to build new neural pathways, to physically change our brain and loosen the grip of that stuck circuit. So how do we actually do it? Well, the gold standard therapy is called exposure and response prevention, or ERP. It's pretty straightforward, really. It has two parts. First, exposure. You deliberately face the thing that triggers the obsession. You hang that picture just a little bit crooked on purpose. And second, response prevention. You resist that overwhelming urge to perform the compulsion. You don't fix it, you just sit with the discomfort. And does this work? Oh yeah, the results are incredibly powerful. A major review of studies found that a staggering 83% of people who complete ERP treatment see significant improvement. By showing your brain over and over that the bad thing you fear doesn't actually happen, you are actively retraining its fear center. You're teaching it that the alarm is false. Now, alongside that behavioral approach, there's another really powerful tool called acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, and its focus is a little different. Instead of trying to fight or get rid of the thoughts, ACT is all about changing your relationship with them. It's about learning to let them come and go without getting tangled up in them. ACT points out 4 key things that keep us stuck, and it uses this handy acronym, FEAR. So F is for fusion. That's when we're totally glued to our thoughts, believing they're 100% true. E is for excessive goals, like the impossible goal of having zero anxiety or perfect certainty. A is for avoidance of discomfort, which, as we know, is the main job of a compulsion. And R is for remoteness from our values, when the disorder pulls us further and further away from the life we actually want to live. And this leads to a really crucial idea in ACT, the difference between goals and values. A goal is a destination you can reach, right? Like having a perfectly organized desk. You can cross it off a list. But a value is a direction. It's like a compass always pointing west. It's about how you want to live your life. See, the compulsion serves the short-term goal of a perfect desk, but it often completely wrecks your long-term value of being a creative and productive person. The big shift is to start making choices based on your values, even when it means giving up the comfort of that short-term goal. So, this all brings us to the final and maybe the most important mental shift we need to make to find lasting freedom from the tyranny of that just right feeling. These 2 little words, they can be your superpower. When that obsessive brain starts demanding certainty, is it really straight? Are you absolutely sure? Instead of getting into an argument with it or doing a compulsion, you just respond with, maybe, maybe not. It's a way of acknowledging the thought without getting sucked into the debate. You're practicing accepting uncertainty, and let me tell you, uncertainty is OCD's kryptonite. And really, this gets to the absolute heart of recovery. It's not about achieving some perfectly silent, anxiety-free mind. That's an impossible goal. The real goal is to learn that thoughts are just thoughts. You can have them, you can feel the discomfort they bring, and you can still choose to put your energy where it really matters, into living a life guided by your deepest values, not by the noise of your fears. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. That just right feeling is really just a desperate search for certainty in a world that, let's face it, is fundamentally uncertain. So I want to leave you with this question to think about. What if the real prize isn't finally getting everything to feel perfect? What if it's discovering the profound freedom that comes from living a rich, meaningful life, even when things feel a little imperfect?